Chapter 5. Anthony's father suffered from depression. A line of uneasy ancestors stretched back far further than anyone living could explain properly. Anthony's grandmother, as an extension of her own suffering, had beaten her son, Anthony's father, with his playthings as a child, leaving long, terrible scars across the back of his ribs and spine. Anthony's father never beat him, but his depression would continue to bleed into his sister's mind until much later in her life, like a dark parasite. An entity who Anthony would spend long hours later on trying to root out, whose tentacles he would try to unravel. Anthony never knew why they called depression the black dog. It was nothing so honourable, nor large or material. It was not a hound that you could push outside onto the porch, but a terrible fungi that clung to the underside of your happiness, waiting, patiently, for a shadow to latch onto and procreate. That Christmas, however, there was no darkness. They foraged new decorations from the garden centre, and the house shone like an Elizabethan palace. They ate together, washed up together, brushed their teeth together, slept within arm's reach, took walks in tight formation, a papa wolf with his cubs, after everything else had been desecrated by seasonal flooding. For the first time in more than a year, Anthony could rest. Years later, Anthony would write a poem about this time. I think I have it. Yes, here it is. There is not much left in the dark evening than to pull each other close, or to drink something warm. Whilst the world marches on outside, in the cold streets and the rain, we have each other. Inside and locked away, safe. Our secret gathering is a bit like something forgotten, something ungathered, something missed by those who march outside, busy and fretful and cold, like the weather. We are a leaf in the gutter, a pearl on the ocean floor, a feather in the wind, a coin down the back of the sofa. That winter, childhood seeped back into Anthony and Lola's life like water into the body of a potted plant that had been left forgotten in the sun for too long. Their soil had been wicker dry, but the roots quickly reacquainted themselves with moisture, and their leaves, previously closed, protective, brittle, and worn, with torn edges, unfurled quick enough, green and rubbery. Despite this, however, Anthony's dad could see that even in the deep crevices of the living room settee, with hot chocolate and an easy movie, his children's stems stood firmer than before, thicker, like coastal plants, routinely bashed about by coastal winds. They were childish, but no longer delicate, excitable, but less puppy-like than before. They lived next to a bundle of hills. Many days they spent chewing into their scarves, hunkering down against the wind on the tops. Anthony's father in the middle, his little children's hands squeezed amongst his own in the waist pockets of his coat. There was actually white adorning the hills that year, a rare and delicious delight for the children who had barely spent a week's worth of their lives enjoying the irresistible crunch of fresh white snow. One day, they were gathering live decorations to finish off their small cottage palace. Both Anthony and Lola were armed with red Swiss Army penknives and set loose into the spittles of trees and harsh shrubs. Their father sat on a rock, watching them, smoking a roll-up cigarette, the pin on his dark blue cap capturing a pinprick of light from the bottomless blue sky as the children ferried branches and bundles from here and there. Within an hour and a half, his rucksack was already gushing with mistletoe, old man's beard, holly and ivy, as well as several stones, sheets of bark, and frozen insects that the children found particularly enchanting. "Do you think we have enough?" asked Anthony's father. Both children looked at the pack billowing with all things green and red and jolly, and then at their father. "Well, we'll get more if there isn't," stated Lola. "Of course, Lolita. We can come back today if you want." "Maybe not today, Dad. My toes are cold." "So are mine," said Anthony. "Oh no, really?" said their father with quick horror. The children read the warning on their father's face. "Why?" asked the both of them. "What's wrong?" "I had a friend up here once. It was colder then, but we've been out in it longer than he was. He got really cold toes, and he ended up losing 2.5 with frostbite." Neither Anthony nor Lola ate into their father's silliness. They left it bobbing in the air without a nibble. They smiled the same "we're too old for this now" smiles, and a quick prick of pain made Anthony's father's teeth clench. He shook it off rapidly, and within a blink, he dropped to a squat, took a welly boot in each hand and jumped back away from his children, so that they both hopped and staggered on one leg and quickly lost their balance, falling into the snow. They gathered themselves, lightning fast, and jumped on their father before he could turn around and make it more than 2 meters away. One on his ankle, the other clinging to his jacket, they pulled him down on top of them like 2 young Nords against a giant on a Scandinavian plain. A cacophony of yips and giggles covered the hills as each one of them, man, son, and daughter, raced to shove as much snow down the other two's clothes as quickly as possible without getting stuffing filled themselves. I know that Anthony still looks back upon this day as one of his lifelong favourites. Our protagonist was not to know then, of course, that this brief window of ease was the last time he would enjoy such warmth with his sister and his father, the last breath of a dying era.